Hi everyone, how are you? Just waiting for a few more people to join in, then we will start with the session. Let's just wait for 2 more minutes.
Ready, steady, go!
So, hi everyone. I am Sagrika Saraf and I am the host for today's webinar. I will be conducting this webinar for you guys. So, a little bit about me. I am an interior designer. So, I have an experience in the field for over 6 years and I've completed over 70 to 80 projects. So, I work within residential premises along with a few commercial projects and retail stores and all of that. So for my education, I have a bachelor's in interior design, plus I have a master's in interior design from Paris College of Art. So basically, I have been neck down in the industry for over 6 years. So I can assure you that whatever we are talking today is going to be based on experience rather than it being based on just how we, theoretically understand things. So I would love to know a little bit about you all. So can you just type on the chat box like who you are and what you are currently studying, or maybe if you're working. So just a little bit about like what you are doing right now and what are like why have you joined the webinar? Is there a specific reason? Something like that. Just 1 or 2 lines would do for me. So till the time everybody types on the chat box, I will open up our presentation and we can start with that then. Okay, so I'm Asim, an interior designer from Hyderabad. Okay, great. So have you just started your own business or is it like you are into a job? So what are you doing currently? Everybody else, guys, please don't be shy. It's just on a chat box. You don't even have to show your face or talk. You just have to write who you are and what you do. I really like the webinars to be like a conversation starter. So it should not be like I am only talking to you guys and I have no response for you guys. I need you all to be highly participative. So I know it gets a little bit hard to kind of get involved with your voice. So I'm not asking you to do that. You can simply write on the chat box so that everybody knows what background are you at, and when we start working on it I can also cater to the audience that we are. So if we have a number of interior designers, then we'll have a different kind of approach to the webinar. If we have a lot of newcomers also, then we can have a different approach as well. So just kind of open up and talk about yourself. Just I'm giving you 1 more minute to write it down. So I only have one person who has mentioned. Okay. Civil engineering graduate. Okay. Really interested through the interior design field. Great. Lalit is from Nagpur. Okay. Oh, that's great. You are a site supervisor. Okay, great. Who else? So see, do you see how many various people have joined? And I'm just want to tell you right here that we are going to start with the very beginning and how you should go about thinking about kids interior design. And since like this is a very interesting topic, I'll tell you why. If we talk about interior design in general, it comes out to things like design principles and those basic stuff which you might not get so interested in, but the process of designing for a specific age group or for a specific persona, it becomes really really interesting, and the process of it will help you realize that how deep of this industry is, like how conceptualizing can become very deep rooted into theories. So okay, we have Diksha again, civil engineering student. Okay, great. I've consulted for design and color for primary school in Bangalore. Okay, that's great. Very interested in interior designing. That's superb. Right. So Omkar doing a diploma in interior designing. Great, great. So thank you for all the messages that you put on the group. So I'll keep asking you such like little bit of small questions and then we can talk about it. Since see, this is not like I cannot really teach you interior design in 2 hours, but we can start a conversation and we can have questions from you guys. We can have an interaction about how we should go about designing certain spaces, right? So I'm just going to share my screen so that we can start with the presentation. All right. So let's think about it this way. When we start interior designing for kids, what according to you should be the most important element? So just type in the chat box. What do you think? Let's think about doing anything for the kids. So you're designing a space for the kids. What should be the number one priority for us? Any guesses? There are no wrong answers. Just write whatever comes to your head in the beginning. Also, there are hints on your screen, so you can, okay, playful and joyful colors. Absolutely. So we get that. The minute you think about kids' bedroom, you will think about, playful, joyful colors. Or if you think about any kind of a space which involves kids, we see a lot of colors there. Okay, hi Ganesh, you are from civil, okay, working construction company. That's great. Anybody else wants to take a call on what should be the first thing we think about when we think about interior design for kids? Any keyword that comes to your head immediately after I show you the screen like this, interior design for kids, like what does this mean to you? Any volunteers? Okay, just one more volunteer, then I'll start with the presentation. Any one of you? Come on, guys. It's not that hard. We can do it. Okay, again, giving you hints right here. All right. So, without further ado, let's talk about the initial things that why does interior design for kids matter? Now, why is this such a big deal? Why are we talking about designing for kids as a specific requirement? Now, if you look at any sort of a space which you enter, not every space is safe for kids. Not every space is meant for kids, which is why you will see for every kind of entertainment, for every kind of element that we are doing, like very activity that you do in your daily lives, it says whether this is suitable for kids or not suitable for kids. So we are very specific about what kids should experience, because at those early ages they are prone to new learnings, they are prone to actually getting in a lot of accidents, they have safety issues, they are in a growing state of mind, they are curious. So this particular age group, let's say we are talking about age 1 month to, you can say, 13 15 years, that's the time when which we actually call, these are the kids that we are talking about. After that they become teenagers. So now when we design for kids, it is a different genre altogether. Now if you look at a picture which is on the screen right here, this very evidently looks like a kid's bedroom, it looks like a girl's bedroom, if you want to take it that way, but it kind of, it's a kids vibe. Why? Because you can see a lot of colors, you can see a lot of elements which involve kids, like there are toys, there are florals, there are kind of very specific kind of interiors that you see. But how do we design it differently? Is because first thing is age appropriate design. Now this term might look like something which is just, this is not just for kids. Whoever you are designing for, you need to know, like, this is the age group that I'm designing for. Then you have to think about what are the needs of this particular person at this particular age. Let's say if you're designing for an elderly person, your criteria would be completely different for when you are designing for kids. Because when we are designing for kids, as I mentioned before also, it's important that we realize that they are at a growing stage, and at this stage they are going to develop intellectually, emotionally, physically, and there has to be a whole all rounded development of a child's mind. Now, when they enter any interior space, let's say if they are even living in their bedroom, they are spending so much time in that space. So that space is meant to have that effect on the child. If you place a child in a very colorful atmosphere or in a playroom, their ideas, their kind of energy would be completely different from when you put them in a space like maybe a hospital or a place which has very dull colors in a way. So all, kids kind of pick up these things. Even if they are as small as as a 6 months baby, they pick up on colors, they pick up on lights, they pick up on energy. So it is very, very important that we start with age appropriate design. So even for kids, we need to know what is the age group of that kid that I'm designing for. Now, secondly, now this is the most important element, and I want to kind of focus on this a little more. How many of you are aware about warm colors and cool colors or color psychology? Have you heard of it? Have you read about it anytime? Anybody who knows about color psychology, who knows about warm colors, cool colors? So there are many segments of colors involved. Okay, Diksha, I think somebody also mentioned that they were consultant for colors, right? I read this somewhere. Yeah, Diksha said that she was consulting for colors. Okay, great. A lot of you know about this. So now color psychology is something that on a wider range, this color psychology works on every aspect of design. If you talk about graphic design, if you talk about branding, if you talk about interior design, even UX UI design, this is the time where color psychology plays a very big role. Whatever, as human beings, whatever we perceive of colors, that's how we are going to react to situations, that's how we are going to react to certain elements. Now, to be very specific, if we are talking about children, children are highly sensitive to color. They catch on colors, they very, those kinds of colors are going to instantly affect their behavior and mood. So just imagine putting them in a playpen where there are, these colorful balls in a tub or a thing like that. So you must have seen those play areas. Imagine a kid playing there. The kind of energy, the behavior would be completely different at that time. And now you are putting them in a context where they are being sit down on a study table and they are studying at that area, right? Now the kind of situations that we have are completely different, but you can see the role of color there. So if there is a very colorful atmosphere, they will have that kind of energy. Now, specific to these two areas, which we call warm colors and cool colors, I like to kind of relate them, associate them with nature. Human beings are very natural beings, so we are somebody who like to be interacting with nature, be it knowingly or unknowingly, but we relate everything we see, which is man-made or artificial, and we relate it with the natural things available to us. For example, if I talk about warm colors like reds, oranges, yellows, now these warm colors stimulate the kind of energy which we get, from sun, or which we get from fire. Now, these elements which are there in the nature, like fire represents warmth, it represents energy, it represents excitement. Same goes for the sun or the daylight. Now, that kind of light gives us that soothing feeling. It has a lot of effect on the energy of human beings. So same things emulates when we talk about colors. Now we are taking, kind of deriving all the colors from nature, which are all warm, and we are kind of behaving the same way that we would, when we think about fire or a place like, let's think about a place which has a fire in the middle and you are all sitting around it. Now imagine how you would feel there. You would feel like a very cozy evening, or kind of enjoy that feeling. And if we are talking about daylight, if it is the sun, you might feel a lot energetic. So that's what warm colors do to us. And these also kind of grow, it kinds of grows on us if we are kids. Like if we are talking about kids, they are more prone to experiencing this. As adults, you might have, a number of things in your mind. You're thinking about this or that, and you're not really that affected by colors. But when it comes to kids, they catch these things, they observe, they catch the colors, they catch the energy, they catch the kind of visual impact they get. Then comes the option for cool colors. Now cool colors are the ones which we associate with either water, greens, which I mean like forest, or the sky. Now, these are the colors of nature which are in a way very, very soothing. So, if we think about going on the mountains, living somewhere near the ocean, or kind of sitting right beside a lake, the kind of feelings you get there. So, what kind of feeling would you get there? Let me paint a picture for you, and you can tell me how you feel being in that situation. Let's talk about a place which has a beautiful lake. There are mountains. There's a clear blue sky. There are a lot of greenery around it. You can imagine Kashmir, Nainital, or places like that. And now you're sitting, at that time, and you're looking at the view. How do you feel at that time? Just visualize that and let me know in the chat box. How would you feel in a situation like this? Anybody? Any volunteers? Okay. Refreshed. Anybody else? It's a lake with mountains and greenery and clear blue sky. How do you feel if you look at that kind of a place? Yeah, so peaceful, right? So it makes you feel like, you are at peace. There is a lot of calm. Absolutely. So that's what we are talking about. Now, since imagine that now when you are in your room or when you are in an interior space, you cannot actually have all of this in the room, right? But we can kind of derive all the colors from there and kind of replicate the feeling of calmness and soothing environment. Trust me, like human brain does not really understand a lot of things in a way that we would think it has. Like if you give yourself a chance to live in a space which has a very beautiful natural looking painting, it has very beautiful light coming in, there's natural light, there is a lot of peace and calm, you will get a similar kind of energy that you will get if you go to an actual mountainous region where you are looking at a scenery like that. So that's how it affects the kids too. So if you are providing kids with an environment where there are a lot of blues, greens, and purples, it will have a calming effect on them. So, as I said, because the kids have more of the observational qualities, they will have a better can you can say better reaction to these things. So if you are using warm colors or cool colors, you have to be very careful how you are planning it. Now let's say that this is one of the bedrooms that you can see. Now this has this orange color and kind of like warm hues altogether. So we are using this yellowish kind of a wood, and there is this orange color. There is a lot of elements happening. Now here, this also becomes some now even if this has warm colors in it, but it still looks peaceful, right? Now we want if you are creating a bedroom, the type of space you are creating, that's when you will realize which color should I use and how much of it should I use. So if we are planning maybe a food court or maybe a play area, maybe we want to go for bright colors. But if we are planning a bedroom, yes, we want the kids to have the energy and excitement, but it's a bedroom. We also want them to rest. So there has to be a balance between the colors that you choose, the colors that you pick. Now, also, there is also a type where you can create a color scheme where you have warm colors and some cool colors as well. So you kind of play through that you have one section which has a lot of hints of warm colors, and there's a section in between the room which has section hints of the cool color. So you want them to have that calm peaceful energy, but you also want to give them that way of being excited or playing in the same space, right? So this is something that comes with practice, but just to give you an overview that this is not like if you are using warm colors, these are the only energies which are going to come to you or which are going to get emulated. You have to be very careful about the colors that you pick. So you have to create the environment in such a way how you want the person to react, right? Then comes the next part, which is safety. Now, safety has always been the biggest concern. So when I was asking you what's the first thing that comes to your head, everybody said colors, everybody said, joyous colors and all of that. But the most important element when it comes to designing anything for kids is safety. Now kids cannot be trusted for being so responsible that they're walking all around it. So we have to be very careful about the things we use, the materials we use while we are designing for kids. Number one, we have to choose very non-toxic materials. Basically, avoid any plastics. So as much as you can avoid plastics, so that people can actually work on woods, or maybe they have more natural materials within the space, which gives a safer breathing space for kids. Then comes there should be no sharp edges on the furniture. So when we are designing for kids, it is important for us to realize that straight lines, yes, they are a part of modern design. Yes, we like crisp sharp furniture, but that is not something which is going to work for the kids. We want them to, so just think about it. Whatever furniture piece you're putting out, you have to think like, now this kid does not know, they can bump into anything. They can bump into their own bed, they can bump into the LCD panel maybe that you have put, they can fall down anytime. So you have to imagine the worst case scenario and then think, okay, even if they bump their head here, they are going to will not be that hurt. So that's what we are trying to ensure here. Now when it comes to the smaller kids, if we are talking about infants, when we are talking about kids under the age of 10, that time we're also thinking about how to add mini gates so that they do not run out. You want to add some other elements which we are going to discuss. So safety becomes a cloud response where we have to think about everything here. Now if you have windows in the room, you want to make sure that the kid does not open it on its own. If you have doors in the room, if you have other things in the room, like even if there are drawers, for example, now kids tend to even get hurt because of the drawers. So you want to make sure that every safety situation is taken care of so that you can prevent accidents. Now these three things are the most important when it comes to safety while designing for kids, right? Then the next part, which is again very, very important, is ergonomics. Now, what exactly is ergonomics? Ergonomics is basically the study of human being with respect to its environment. I'm going to repeat that. It is the study of human beings with respect to their environment. So how do we kind of come into picture if we are picturing ourselves within a space? So let's say there is a human being who's standing in the kitchen. Now, how is that human being reaching to the cabinet? How is the human being working on the tabletop? How is the human being reaching the lower cabinets? So you have to make sure that all of these dimensions work out. That if you are kind of opening a cabinet, or you're trying to cook something, so in that case you have to be very careful about how that is going to be comfortable for the person working through it. Now for the kids, this becomes even more important. Why? Because when we are talking about kids, they change like every 15-20 days in the beginning, and at a later stage every month they have new requirements, and then that kind of keeps on changing. So every 3 months, maybe every 6 months, they have now new requirements. So the furniture or the kind of space that we are creating for them, it has to evolve with them. So first of all, we have to think about this in a way that if we are, let's say, designing for XYZ adult, we do not have to, so there's a standard size of the chair that we will keep there, and that's there. So we are not worried about the person growing 2 inches. So we are not worried about that. We know that this is the size which is comfortable for the adult. But now when it comes to kids, so let's say you are designing for a 6-month-old child. At that time you might give him a very small bed or a space to sleep which is very, very small. But we have to be very, very careful about how this is going to evolve as furniture. So adjustable furnitures can be very good investment. It can be a very good design element to add in your kids' bedrooms or in your kids' spaces. So if you look at the image right here, so there is this space which they have created for the child. So this is a small tabletop, so you can see that can be slanted. There's a lever here which will help you kind of get it up or down. So there is height adjustment, there is space to keep other things. So we have created the furniture specifically for the child, and we are also referring to the growth. So maybe if he or she grows, we can increase the height of the table for them. So that ways it becomes a good investment, and it also becomes ergonomically correct. Because what happens is, what ends up happening is that as kids we are not capable of telling somebody or realizing that mama, this table is not good enough for me or not big enough for me. As a 5-year old child, as a 6-year old child, you might not know it, and you are sitting on that table, and suddenly the person will realize that the kid has developed a certain kind of a hunch, or they have developed some kind of a backache, or they have eyesight issues. So this is something which is very common within kids. So in order to kind of decrease that or work on it in a way that this does not affect the overall well-being of the child, we have to think about ergonomic furniture. So ergonomic furniture basically means the furniture that kind of relates to the proportion, which relates to the body of a growing child. So if you have, let's say, a chair, it should have some height adjustment. If you have a table, it could have some properties of changing a little bit. If we have a bed, you might want to see that how it can be, what size you should keep it. Should it be a big bed, should it be a smaller one, should it be like a bunk bed? So all of those decisions need to be taken with respect to the age of the child, with respect to the scenario that you are building at, right? Now, next thing, which is very, very important, this must be something which was not very popular in the early times. So even when a lot of us, so if you are from India, you can relate. So a lot of us, when we were kids, it is not a big deal that you have to think about the mental well-being of the child. Everybody is worried about if you are falling down, or if you have some actual health issue, they'll take care of you. But mental well-being is something which is not very taken care of. Like, literally, in terms of interior design, that would not be something that comes to anybody's head. So if we are designing, if our kid is living in this room, what should the child have to have a peace of mind or to have a good mental health? So in order to do that, there are a lot of things that we as designers can incorporate. So we have to think about, if we are planning a play area or a kindergarten space or a bedroom, what should be the things that help the child improve their mental abilities? So maybe number one, you add a lot of color which stimulates them in a way or two. They have this kind of sense of attraction to the color. They have the different kind of energy. But then again, we also want them to become these human beings who can focus, who are stress free, and who can be organized. So it is a very not known factor that if you keep your kids in a way that you kind of give them the option to organize their stuff, that's a very good activity for them. So if you look at just this image which I have put here, so here this child has a space. So maybe this child loves cars. So this is something, the information that you should know about the client when you're working for them. So maybe they are fond of dolls, maybe they're fond of cars, maybe they're fond of XYZ things. So we have to give them a specific activity to do within their room. So here they have, kind of a garage which is built here. So the child can actually put things together. It can take, he can take it out, play with it, and then keep it back. So this helps the child to understand that I have to keep things a certain way. It has an interactive session. So maybe this also works with, maybe the child is good with drawing. So you give them a chalkboard where they can actually draw. So you're giving them the opportunity to kind of experience the toys or to experience the activities within their own way. So you're giving them a sense of responsibility that you have to put this back together, you have to put it there, to live clutter free, to have that kind of organization. Even if not even this, you maybe have bins which are allocated for. So this is a bin which is for your toys, this is the bin which is for your clothes. So the child can develop that kind of a mindset that he has to live in a clutter free environment, which obviously kind of relates to being in a stress free environment. Then secondly happens the most important part is personalizing the space. Now this is a part of personalization, but there can be more things. Like I've known kids to be very fond of a certain cartoon, or maybe they are fond of a very certain color. So there are children who say I love the color yellow or I love the color blue. Now if they have this kind of inclination towards anything, you can give them that opportunity to explore that, like what they like. So maybe they like the color blue, so you give them a study table which has the color blue. Now what that would do is they will feel like, I like this color, I really like this, they can relate to it. And on the other hand, you're also providing them a space to study, so that might make it more enjoyable for them, or might make it more interesting for them. So a lot of these little things. So once I had I had to design one bedroom for this person. So he was like 8 years old, and I was not sure, like the child did not tell me anything, so I like this or like that. So we kind of ended up talking with the parents. So we asked them, so like how does he feel with the cartoons, or does he like a certain color, does he engage with a certain kind of age group. So they mentioned that he really likes galaxies, and he likes to look at the stars. Most of his toys were like little astronauts or things that he would have bought. So that gave us an idea to kind of give him that kind of an environment, which would become like a part of his personality in a way. So kind of giving them that comfort, kind of validating their likeness. Like if they like certain things, we can do that. We can provide them with those certain little things which will give them the sense of ownership. So this room belongs to me. Why? Because this has my favorite color. This room belongs to me and I love this space. I want to keep it clean. Why? Because this has my favorite things in it. So that sense of ownership kind of helps the child to be very emotionally stable also. Now they like the place they live in. So in order to give them that, like us as interior designers, we have the power to give them that. So if you like certain things, we can do that. Now I'm not saying that create very very simple like drawings, like where you want to put, maybe the person like Spider-Man, so you put a Spider-Man on the wall. That's not what I'm saying. You can create an ever evolving growing space for them, but it is important that we personalize that with respect to what the kid currently likes. So it's not going to be the same forever, but yes, we can still have some elements related to that. Now this is the fifth point. Okay. Now, if we talk about kids, so it's not just about, even within kids, we have different parameters. So if we are talking about infants or, small babies, the criteria would be completely different. And when we talk about, let's say, kids who are above the age of 5, then the idea of creating a space for them would be completely different. So we really need to understand different needs with the help of different age groups. So number one is 0 to 2 years, which we call the group. This age group is called infants. Now this is the time when you want to give them the most comfort, of course, safety. And the third thing is you want to give them sensory stimulation. Now, this is scientifically known that children at this point, they are kind of getting introduced to a lot of things. So they're literally just born. So they are now experiencing new things. So sound is new to them. Textures are new to them. Colors are new to them. So they are visualizing, looking at things, listening to things. So all of this is a new sensation for them that they're feeling. So first of all, we need to create very soft and cozy spaces for them, because coming from where they were before this, you have to give them an environment that feels cozy to them. So if you are creating a nursery, or if we are creating a space maybe within the bedroom of the parents, you want to create a space for an infant, here we have to prioritize comfort. So the bedding needs to be soft, there has to be very gentle lighting. We do not want any harsh lighting in a space like this. And of course, we want very calming colors. Now at this point, yes, the child might be kind of they might be grasping some colors, but we do not want to start them up with bright colors. We don't want to start them up with a bright yellow or a bright pink or a bright orange. That would be too much for them. So we are thinking about the small kids here. So first of all, it has to be gentle and it has to be a calming color effect. Then comes sensory items. Basically, if you look at the, like, anytime if you are designing for a specific age group, it always helps to understand what kinds of products are available in the market for that age group. That will help you so much to understand the psyche of a particular age group. So if you look at the toys in the market which are available for 0 to 2 years, you will see that they have a lot of these small rattles, or things like, which are put on their cots and beds, which move all around and have sounds. So we are kind of introducing them with a variety of textures, sounds, and visuals, which is what you also need to do in your space. So maybe there is a beautiful wallpaper, like you can see in this image right here. So there's a beautiful wallpaper or elements, things which are painted on the wall. So this becomes, so they might not understand which creature this is, but they will have a very nice visual to interact with, or actually stare at or laugh at. So at this stage, they're very sensitive, they're very prone to realizing certain things. So maybe a small tremble or a small sound can startle them. So you want to have a very calming effect, but you also want to kind of introduce them with textures. So maybe you also have, if we are talking about the bedding, if we are talking about the elements that you put there, maybe there is a certain texture that they can feel on it. So maybe that's a fur texture, or maybe that's a very soft kind of a clothes which they can feel. So here we are kind of giving them that benefit of the doubt that they can experience this. Then again, if we talk about, a space like this, you have to also think about where is the sound coming from. So if there is a window in the room, or if there is a door in the room, so how does that affect the complete atmosphere of the room? So all of that needs to be taken care of. Must, like, sound not very important, or must sound like, this is something very small. There's a window, there's a door, of course there's sound going to come in, but we have to be very careful about it. We have to be careful about, if there is a large, maybe the room is very close to the main road and there's a lot of noise coming in, you might want to cater to that, you might want to address that and rectify it. So it's very, very important for you to figure out. So even if it's for a very small child, we are thinking about everything. And of course, in here, when we are talking about 0 to 2 years, safety is the most important element here. Every furniture needs to be baby proofed. Baby proofed simply means if the baby can crawl, if they can move out of the bed, and you don't want them to do that, so you have to create railings, or things like these. So there's one picture which is right here. I'm just going to show you. So something like this. So, height adjustable railings all around the bed, which can go up or down depending on if the child is alone, if he or she is with their parents, right? So this is something that you would want to do. Also, you do not want to put any materials which have sharp edges. You do not want to put pieces like, very intricate decor items or something like that in the room, which can be swallowed. So very generic things, but these things tend to get lost when we are trying to create a beautiful concept, or we are very engrossed in how the space is going to look like. But these are the elements which needs to be taken care of, which should be the priority for us, right? So do you guys agree? Is there any question? Is there anything you want to add? to whatever we have discussed, just give me a thumbs up if the pace is fine, if you're understanding, and if you think we should move on to the next part. See, if I keep speaking and you're just listening to me, you might fall asleep also because it's a very theoretical session. So just let's just also keep messaging on the chat, keep asking questions so that there is a little bit of a buzz, right? Okay, so before I move further, let me tell you something that after the whole session, if you are interested in getting a certificate, if you are interested in getting the recordings, that option is available to you. But for that, you will have to email. So, Sandeep, are you in the meeting? Let me just check if Sandeep is in the meeting. Okay, he's not. When he comes back, I'll ask him to post the links for you all. So this time we are not providing free certificate. So it comes with a little bit of a cost, because if you want the recording and if you want to do the webinar at a later time, then that's what we have, created a new section for. So you can email on the email ID. I'll just write it down here. It's called augmintech@gmail.com. So you have to email on this one if you require the certificate or you require the recording for the session. Now, see, certificates are something that if you are in a job or if you are looking to kind of increase things on your resume, you want to show that in your portfolio, you can get a certificate and then you can showcase on your LinkedIn or whatever you want to work it for. So, this is the email ID that I've mentioned. So, you will have to message on here with your full name and you can get the certificate, right? Okay, we have a lot of thumbs up, so we can go next. All right, so now the second stage that we have after infants is preschoolers. Now, these are the kids which are, yes, Lalit, what's the question? Please ask. Yes. I can't really understand your question. Bunk bed, which age? Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about this and you'll realize which wherein you can use this. I think this is the one where you can actually use it. So let's talk about preschoolers. Now, preschoolers are the kids who are in their nursery, pre-nursery, play school. We also call it kindergarten, all of those stages. So 3 to 5 years. So when they have just started school. Now, this is the time when they are at the peak of their creativity and exploration. Now they want to see everything, they want to learn everything, they want to grab everything, they want to eat everything. So this is the time when you have a lot of potential when it comes to designing. Here we can go for bold colors and patterns. We can have very vibrant, playful patterns all across their rooms. We can have colorful rugs, we can have different kind of shapes in the ceilings, we can have different kinds of wallpapers around the wall. So there is so much that can be done within this age group. And also, here is the time when you want to give them options for play area, to have activities which are different. Just look at this picture right here. So this is one bedroom created for a preschooler. You can see that they have created a very interesting effect here. So there's a ladder, there's a small swing for them to sit at. Then the ladder takes you up to a balcony which has some elements on the back wall like the toy shelves. So if you look downstairs now, this kind of a tree which has been created has this kind of a small table. Now this section has been created like a small mini kitchen. So there is a lot of interest. Now when you are working, so see, when we think about kids' bedroom, we always think about, let's create this, create that. We have a lot of creative ideas. Now those ideas we are going to work best if you're working with preschoolers. So this is the time where you can explore the most. You can have the most, whatever colors you want to have. You can have different elements, different approaches. You can have different kinds of wallpapers and all of that. And finally, the last segment for this is that accessible storage. Now, at this stage, kids have a lot of books, they have a lot of play toys, you can say, a lot of these things. So we need to have accessible storage where they can actually take out things on their own, because they would want to do that. Now, I know it is a thing, like if we give them a very accessible storage, they might put everything in clutter. But remember, we discussed that we want them to have the option of putting their things together on their own, to take out their stuff on their own, to manage it on their own. So we are kind of giving them that power. If you I'm not sure how many of you have been around kids, but at this stage they are looking of like they want to eat on their own, they want to walk on their own, they want to do everything on their own. So we have to let them do that. So your design needs to be such that there is a small storage space for them to keep their stuff according to how they want to keep it. Right? That gives them a lot of power, and it kind of gives them that independence. So you are independent on your own. This is your room. You are playing here. You're putting things here. So if you have the liberty to create a space for something like this, go, crazy. You can create a forest theme room, you can create a galaxy theme room, maybe you want to go for a Superman theme room. So whatever you like, you can go forward with this. Now, if I talk about bunk beds, now that should be something that you do if you have multiple kids in the space. So let's say there are 2 or 3 children that you're designing for. That's when bunk bed makes sense, because we are designing for more people now. Or else, if you want to still do the bunk bed, maybe the bottom part becomes a study and the top part becomes the sleeping area. So something like that can be figured out. It will be very exciting for a child to do that, to sleep on one level. So it's very, very convenient for us to design vertically when it comes to children, because the height, kind of the average height that they have, is a plus for us. So the average height of any bedroom or any space that you're going to design could be like 10 to 12 feet. So at that point, if you add a mezzanine floor right in the middle or in the center, that would be around 6 feet. So 6 feet space is enough for most adults also. So if you are designing for kids, that is a very exciting opportunity. So you do not only have to think about the horizontal space or the floor space that you have, you can also work vertically. So either in terms of bunk beds or adding things like that, it can be a multifunctional setup. So there's a complete multifunctional setup for the child, right? Now, with the next one, after you are done with, like, the 3 to 5 years age group we are done with, then come your school aged kids. Now this is the most common kind of a query. So if you are somebody who you're working in interior design, you would know this, that this is the kind of age group where people are more concerned about creating their bedrooms. Now they want to create their sort of a space, right? So this is the time when the child starts to realize, I want to have my own room, I want to have a study, I want to have my own space. So this is when you create that. But here the focus is on learning. So we want to help the child do all the studies which are going to be happening here. So they have now moved on to the next chapter, which is the schooling part. So at this point, you want them to have a dedicated space for study, but also a dedicated space for learning. So maybe there is a space for them to play around, or maybe there's a space for them to read books, or very specific activities that they do. Maybe there's a child who likes to play guitar, or they're learning a music instrument, or they're learning to dance, or they're learning to do karate. So all of that, you need to understand what activities are they into, and we provide them with an interactive learning space, a space which helps them perform the activity that they like the most, right? So let's see, look at the example here which I have mentioned. So here there is a very interactive sort of a space. There is a lot of storage, there is a beautiful wallpaper which is given, then there's some open storage, and then there's a dedicated study area. So now this becomes a separate area, this becomes a separate area. So maybe on the opposite end you have the play area. Then at this point, again, there has to be a lot of personal touch, as I was discussing with you before, that people at this stage need a very personalized, maybe they want a personalized wallpaper, maybe they want a personalized space, maybe they want a personalized color palette. So after we are done with the presentation, I'm going to show you a few examples of the kids' bedrooms that have been designed by us, so that you realize like how different briefs come into picture and how we create different spaces for them. Now with respect to personal touches, what happens is, again, you look for a theme. Now at this age group, if you have a client of age group 6 to 12 years, this is the time when you can think about various types of themes that you want to refer to. Maybe there's a galaxy theme, maybe there's a superhero theme, maybe there is a fairy tale theme. So this is the time when kids are very prone to be very specific about, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, right? So at the preschooler level, you are giving them an option to explore. This time they're exploring and they are understanding things with the help of colors, heights, different things. But when it comes to the school going kids, this is the time when they already have developed certain likings and dislikings. So you want to encourage that or kind of help them build on that. So that's what we need for these kinds of kids. Now the fourth part is the most difficult one, let me tell you. It's the teenagers. So when we are building for teenagers, it is very important for us to realize it is their room and they have very specific requirements, right? How many of you have had interactions with teenagers? Maybe you have younger siblings, or you have cousins, or you have maybe kids of your cousins. So anybody who has had interaction with them, what do you think about them? What do you think when you talk to them? Do you think you can create a space for them just with your own mind and just thinking about how you want to do it? As an interior designer, what do you think should be the first idea about when you're working with teenagers? What should we do? Any guesses? Ask about their hobbies. Okay. What else? Find their ideas. Okay, very good ideas here. Any other? Find, ask about their favorite play, passions. Okay. Game. Okay. Right. So all of these questions are valid. Basically, you need to understand who they are as a person or who they are developing into. So, first of all, what they need is, at this stage, they need privacy. They have this sense of, you can say, independence. So they want to have their own space, right? So that's something that you should give to them. As a matter of, when you're designing for them, you should create spaces where they can actually keep their stuff as they would like to kind of give them that power to play with the lighting. So maybe you have layers of lighting so they can choose which lights they want to use at what time of the day. Maybe at a certain point you also give them some adjustable furniture so they can play around and have that sense of independence, that they can move around some furniture. Also, it needs to be very stylish. So maybe there's somebody who's into K-pop, or maybe there's something who's into Fortnite. So these are very various options that they can be into at this stage. So if they're Gen Alpha or Gen Z, it's completely different about how you would approach their design. So here you have to be very careful about what their style is, what their approach to how do they actually manage their hobbies, what's their lifestyle. So you need to get that. Again, you have to give them flexible spaces so that it's not like, they might just want to play a game for 4 hours during their vacation, or maybe they are into YouTube, or they are into creating content, or they are into maybe, studying for a NASA application and whatnot. So there can be various options here. So we have to be very specific about who we are creating a space for, right? I hope I'm making sense. I hope this makes sense to you and you understand how, different things work for different age groups. Okay, now very important when it comes to creating spaces for children is we choose materials which are safe enough for them, right? So number one material that we are going to discuss is having non-toxic paints and finishes. This we discussed earlier also. So whatever you are putting in a space for a kid's bedroom, specifically for your preschoolers, for infants, also for the school going children, these materials need to be child safe. So whatever, there are different kinds of paints that come in the market. So one is volatile organic compounds, which says VOCs. Now we have to be very careful when we are choosing a paint. It has to say that it has zero VOC or low VOC, which means it will not exude a lot of fumes in the space which are harmful. Now this should be something that should be done for everybody, but specifically when you're designing for children, this should be taken care of, right? Now again, these kind of emit harmful gases and they impact the indoor air quality. So we want to not create problems for the user. We do not want to have give them respiratory issues. So that is why it is important for us to avoid VOCs. So any material which can have this which can emit harmful gases, you want to avoid that, right? Then next becomes the next option is using the durable fabrics. Now see, if we are talking about a luxury space where you are creating a beautiful kind of a drawing room, maybe you want to you go for silks, you want to go for velvet, you want to go for very lush materials, fine. But when we talk about kids, they are not going to be very responsible when you're using a certain fabric in the space. So if you are using a very delicate fabric for the bed, or maybe you're using a very delicate fabric for the wall panels, so that's not going to last long. So we have to be careful with the kind of fabrics we choose. First of all, it needs to be stain resistant. So if the child spills something, or maybe they are into the stage where they want to write everywhere, so the fabrics that you choose should be such that it has that kind of stain resistant properties. Or else you can go for very organic kind of fabrics. So maybe you're using cotton, maybe there's a bamboo fabric, maybe there's wool. These are specifically for the children which are under the age of 5. So you do not want to kind of expose them to any allergics. So if they have allergies, maybe they can get kind of like rashes, they can get issues with respiration. So you have to be very careful with respect to what kind of fabric you are selecting. So even if you have a very beautiful design, you have thought about how you want to use different elements, you want to create a certain kind of a design, but if you do not use a good material, it is not going to be something which is good for them. So we have to be very careful about the materials. So number one was the VOC finish, like the paint. Second becomes the fabric. So the fabric has to be stain resistant and hypoallergic. So maybe if you are somebody, like if you've talked to the client, maybe they say it's okay, we can the stain resistance is not that big of a problem for them, so that's okay. But hypoallergic allergenic fabrics are must, so that you do not kind of accidentally give them an environment which is not healthy for them. So this is one. And then comes the other part, which is having rounded furniture. Now just look at this furniture piece right here. This is a side table. Now you can see here the knobs on top are acting as eyes, and there's another knob on the second one which kind of looks like a mouth. So this gives a very quirky kind of a effect to the whole side table, but it also has rounded edges, which makes it safer for the children. So this is very, very important, that we, whatever we are designing does not mean if you are changing everything into curves, that's not going to look as good as you would want it to be. You just have to be creative with it. So if you are using different elements, if you are using a very geometric kind of a pattern, you might want to just slightly round the edges so that they are not completely sharp and they do not hurt the children. So the basic idea is to minimize injury risks. So if there is sharp corner, there's a possibility that if a child falls down, they might hurt them with just a very sharp corner. Then soft materials, it is important for us to incorporate soft materials. So if you are creating, let's say, a chair or a bed or any furniture item, try and make it padded, so that many a times we have the bed, which is the main part of the bed that is into wood, and the back is only which we upholster, with which we put fabric on. So maybe in terms of when you're designing for kids, you upholster the complete bed, so all the sides of the bed are also padded and have fabric, which makes it very a safer environment for the children. Same goes for any other material that you are using, try and go for the softer ones, right? And the final thing that we need to do is when you are choosing the flooring. So we have to be very careful about the flooring that we are choosing for the kids' bedroom. There are n number of options nowadays which come in the market. So let's talk about carpets. So there are options for you to bring a carpet in the space which is soft. One. Secondly, it will also help reduce noise in the space. Thirdly, it will not hurt the child if they fall on the carpet, that bad. Then comes the option of it being slip resistant. So if it's a carpet flooring, the child might be running around, but they have very less chances of slipping on it or falling on it, right? Then comes the option for maybe having foam, for these kinds of foam floorings. So these are used for play areas, and then maybe you have carpet for another area. So you can have different sorts of floorings. And if you do not have the option to change the floor at all, maybe you want to go for rugs, you want to add area rugs, you want to add carpets on top of it, so that the risk of having a bad fall reduces. Also, this makes it easier to clean. So whenever you're looking for materials for for the floor, think of materials that are easier to clean, because kids are prone to spilling a lot of things. So maybe if you want to add a certain element, so maybe there's a rug which can be washed off, so that makes more sense. So while we are choosing the flooring, it needs to be soft and cushioned, so you can provide rugs, carpets. Then slip resistant, ensure that carpets and rugs have a non-slip backing. So what happens is, if we are choosing different rugs, we need to make sure that they kind of stay where they are. So otherwise it would end up being like a play toy for the kid to kind of run around with the carpet and move it everywhere. So it is very important for us to realize that it has a non-backing, non-slip backing, so that it stays where it needs to be, and easy to clean. Again, for carpets, look for stain resistant options. And for hard floors, let's say if you want to go for a wooden flooring, that's also a safe option because it's easy to clean, one, and it's a softer material when compared to tile or marble, right? So this is very important. So when you're working with the materials, you need to know that what am I using for the child to feel safe or be safe in their environment. I would say, think of the worst case scenario. What if the child comes running from one end and they hit this place? How are they going to fall? So that's very, very important for us to give them a very safe space. So we can do best from our end. Rest is up to how naughty the child is, but it's very important for us to choose child safe materials, right? So if there is any question, anybody has anything to add, just raise your hand, or you can message on the chat box. Anybody has any questions regarding whatever we have spoken about, or you want to add to it? Okay. Now, there is a small activity that I have for you all. So, since I've been speaking for a long time, I want you to do something as well. So, I want you to, so we are not going to design anything that's not possible for a very short period of time, but we can all Google, right? So, you can find images on Google about different kinds of rug available in market for kids with price. Diksha, with price would not be possible, but for different kinds of rugs, you can look at different materials. So there are ones which come with fur. There are ones with come with jute fabric. So you don't want to go for that. You want to go for very soft fabrics with a kind of rubber backing. So that's the only criteria that we have for the kids. Otherwise, any rug which has a nice texture on top and has a rubber backing, that should work for you, right? So what I want you all to do is, since we were talking about age appropriate design, and we have, four age groups, so infants, preschoolers, school aged, and teenagers. So we have these four age groups. Just for me to understand if you have understood the whole gist of it, I want you to take out images from internet which you think are suitable for infants, then preschoolers, then your teenagers and school going kids. So all four categories, right? So this is the only thing that you need to do. We need four images for reference. So I'm just writing it down. You can Google it. You can Google images. Just make sure that you don't write everything on Google. Just search for kids bedroom and then think of what should be apt for what age group, because if you just Google a specific element, you might find it. Then we will discuss why is that image or why is that specific room relevant for the age group that we are talking about, right? So which we are talking about: preschoolers, infants, school going kids, and teenagers. Okay, so I've mentioned it here. The time in my clock right now is 8:43. I'm just going to give you 10 minutes. That's all. So I'll come back at 53. So 20:53. That's the time on my screen right now. So I'll come back in 10 minutes. I just need four images from you all and maybe one or two volunteers who can talk about what images that they have produced, or what images they like, and they can mention. So if you want to write on the chat box, you can write along with the image, why do you think this is appropriate, or what made you think this is better, right? So just take your time, just take 10 minutes and do it. It's a very easy task to do. All you have to do is Google. So that's the best thing, best exercise that anybody can ever get. I hope this is doable with everybody. Can you just give me a thumbs up? Just give me a thumbs up if you can do it, if you can Google four images. Does this look like a difficult job, guys? I have no thumbs up yet. Okay, there's one thumbs up. Great. All of you can do it. It's a very easy task. Okay, yes. Waiting for two, three more thumbs ups. Okay, great. Easy. That's the spirit. Okay. Let's just take, so we have 9 minutes left now. Just yeah, you can share your work. That's fine. If you want to share an image of your work, that's not an issue. We just need four images that refer to different age groups of the kids, right? Okay, great. So I'll come back in 10 minutes and then we'll discuss this further. Okay, I think we have two people who have sent images. Okay, Diksha has shared image for I think a preschool that you might have designed. All right. For infants, Soha has shared four images. So just let me know if you can see the images on my screen or not. I'm not sure if this is visible. Okay, I think this is. So we can see here. Right, so this is the one. Okay. What else? So let's talk about these ones first. Okay, so this is the one for infants. Right, this looks like an AI generated photo because there are very random elements here. But I get the gist of it that we are talking about pastels, we are talking about light colors, and we are talking about a very soothing atmosphere. So, if you can see here, so the colors that they've used is a combination of warm and cool colors. There's pink, there's blue, but the overall theme of the space gives a kind of a peaceful energy. So it's kind of like something which might not be exactly feasible, but it's a good example of an infant space. Then this is the one that she has mentioned for preschoolers, right? So this is the one that you've sent for preschoolers. Okay. Okay, so we have a bed. There is a lot of space for organizing. Right. So even though the picture is very cluttered, but I think there is potential here. So maybe there is space for the child to actually keep their stuff later on. But it still seems very cluttery. So it's important for us to realize when we are creating a space for a preschooler, we also have to take care of their parents. So it has to be a space which is more like, they can play here, they can work here, they can create a clutter free space, but all the storage that we are providing them should have a certain organization level, right? Then, okay, so this is the one for school going children. Okay, this looks good to me. So there is a specific space for sleeping, there's specific space for storage, there's specific space for study. So that's a good example. So we can have different sections here. So we are providing them with everything that they need. And finally, when we talk about teenagers, so this looks like a gamer's room. So we have a nice big screen for the gamer. There's space for them to sleep. There's nice way of lighting. And here also you can see there's a use of hardwood and carpet. So if you look at all of these, you will see either hardwood or you will see carpet. So most of them have hardwood flooring with carpets. Now this is something that which we talked about, that the material should be safe enough. Right now, if we look at the images shared by Diksha, so this is okay. So this is a flooring, right? Okay, so this is like a preschool that I think you have created. Looks good to me. There's a lot of elements that we can discuss here. So see, there's a use of very bright color, which is stimulating. This looks like a stage, maybe. So this would come out as a very interactive space for them. The floor again very interactive because there are a number of colors. Children end up playing with things like this. So in order to have them involved, in order to have grab their attention, elements like these can help way a lot. Then finally, this can be a little less bright, I feel, because there's a lot of color going on. So if at the eye level of the child, you will see a very bright color. So you might want to tone it down a little bit so that maybe this is present on only maybe one wall, maybe there's some other element also. So it's not just like one solid color. But overall, it looks good. It looks like a kid's school. So good work on that. So I hope that we have cleared out that how the spaces for kids should look like and what age group represent what other element. If you have any questions up until now, you can ask me any questions related to everything that we have spoken yet. Then we will talk about the next topic that we have. Any questions up until now, or anybody else who has reviewed pictures they want to share, you can share that. Any questions, guys? Anything? Okay, I'm just going to repeat. So we have Sandeep here. So all of the people who want to get a certificate for the webinar, or all the people who are looking for the recordings. So we have the recording for, we'll have the recording for you. We will also have the certificate for you, but it is not for free. It is chargeable. So for Indian students, the charges are 499, and for the people who are from abroad, so the charges are 10 US dollars. So Sandeep is going to be sharing the link on the chat box for you to, if you want to purchase the certificate or you want to get the recordings. So also the email ID I've mentioned, you can email on that in case you require anything else. Okay, so Lalit is sharing images. Sandeep, can you also please, meanwhile, share the links here? Lalit, who is this bedroom for? So is the age group defined for this child? Or are we talking? So it looks like a school going child's, okay, 13. Yeah, so school going category. Right, that's good. So we have two beds here. There's storage, there's study. A lot of it makes sense. The layout makes sense. So it is kind of like a place for two people, and you have set it in a way that they have their own different space. So they have two corners. So one kid might be on that corner and the other one on this one, which makes a lot of sense because at this age they might kind of fight a lot with each other. So it's good that they have their own zones, seeing here. The only thing I find missing is that there is only one study table. Was there a lack of space, or is this not visible in the view? I can see one study table only. Lack of space. Okay, so one study table, they'll have to take chances. Okay, okay, no problem. Anybody else would like to share? You can share that here. Okay. So now if we talk about, when we have, understood, the different elements, we have understood how we can choose different colors, how we have understood how to plan separate spaces for different kinds of age groups. Now we are going to talk about role of interiors on kids' mental and emotional well-being. This is something that we discussed earlier also. It's not an issue, Mayor. You can share pictures, then we'll discuss that. I'll come back to that. So you can see that when you are creating spaces for kids, it is very, very important that we create a space which is calm and focused. Also, we need to have very good, organized spaces. So it is important that, number one, why are we mentioning this? Why are we referring to organized spaces? Why are we referring to decluttering? It is because that if we have a cluttered environment, it can be very overwhelming for the kids. Also, if there is a lot of, excess of items during this time and age that we live in, it is possible that the child might have a lot of toys or a lot of things to keep. So you want to give them an option to remain organized or to keep their stuff in a way that does not overwhelm them. So, in the era of a lot of information, in the era of a lot of materialistic things, we have to still be focused that the kid's mind is not developed yet to cater to all of it, to kind of infuse into that environment. So, it is important for us to create uncluttered spaces, so decluttered spaces, so that there is reduced stress and they are more at ease while they are performing different activities. Next, if the space is tidy, if it is kept in an orderly manner, that helps in the concentration. So if there is a home which is very chaotic and everything is lying around everywhere, that's the time when you have to kind of find a less noisy spot. So I'm not talking in terms of sound, but also in terms of visual. So when you have so many things all around you, when they're not kept properly, it kind of you gives you a lot of distractions. So for kids, it is important to have that sense of focus, to have that sense of concentration. So while they are, learning new things, while they are doing any activity of their choice, it needs to have some kind of order. So if you look at this image right here, there is a space for the person to have some kind of artwork or study. But you can see there are, dedicated spaces for toys, there are dedicated spaces for books, there are dedicated spaces for almost everything. Now, this makes it very clear to anybody who's using the room, like this is where I should keep certain stuff. This is where I keep this or that. Now, even though we are talking just about kids, but as a tip, this is something that should be done for every room or every space that you design. So if what we tend to do is, as even as luxury interior designer, this is something that happens. We forget that human beings are not going to be proper and poised and always look at things in a certain way. If you're living in your own bedroom, you might not even want to fold everything up and keep it tidy tucked in some way. So you as a designer have to make it easy for them. What ends up happening is there's a very beautiful room, there's a very beautiful headboard, such beautiful lighting, but when you enter the space, it's like stuff lying all around. So with the help of, what kind of decor you have put, everything, it's important to think of small little things like, do I need to keep a table for the person to keep their keys? Do I need to dedicate a space for the person to keep their shoes, or dedicate a space for them to hang their clothes, or maybe keep their study stuff? So maybe they have a laptop, maybe they have some files they want to review. So all of those specific activities that might happen, so you have to keep specific spaces for them and think about them. Same is the case with kids. Even though they might not have very huge amount of responsibility or activities which take a lot of intellectual help, but it is important for them to have dedicated spaces for their storage, dedicated spaces for their play area, dedicated spaces for study. So this is what we mean by calm and focused. This is what we mean by well organized, right? Now, secondly, it is very, very important for us to realize that the room needs to have some kind of an creative expression. So the space needs to be artistic. So there has to be some element or the other which gives you the idea of, kind of fostering imagination for them, or you can incorporate art. So if you look at this image right here, just give me one moment. Okay, sorry for that. Uh, right. So we have shared the link for you on the chat. So you have to, if you want to get the certificate, you will have to fill up the form, which is left on the chat box. You can look at that. And then, as I was saying, it is important for us to have areas with flexible design and artistic elements. So, number one, if we refer to the image that we see here, it is an image where you can see there's a tree which is built up. So, trees are not supposed to be in the room, right? So, we are just kind of giving them an interesting factor to look at. So, it's a book, it's a shelf for the toys, but it's kind of like the branches of the trees. So we're trying to give them a kind of an imaginative atmosphere. So that's very, very important. Now, here you can also think of, it's not just like, literally creating something. You do not literally need to create clouds or, things like this. But you need to have something or the other that tends to, interest them, or to give them this idea of how this thing can be, so that you can develop their mental ability of imagination or thinking about things, right? So here what happens is, even if you are giving them a play area where they can climb up to one level and then maybe they can slide down on the other side, or maybe they can put some blocks around. So I saw this very interesting image a few, I think this was when I just saw a very beautiful portrayal of a kid's bedroom where they had created a very neutral space. It was all in terms of, you can see it was browns and it was beiges only. but they were very interactive walls. So there was one wall which was called the Lego wall. So the kid could actually place blocks on the wall and create whatever they want on the wall itself. And it had more such things, like there was a space dedicated for the person to be sitting and reading, and that space had a nice visual on the wall. So just thinking about smaller spaces and not creating the whole bedroom into one theme, you can also think about dedicated spaces. So maybe you are thinking about when they're working on their homework, or when they're working, studying, what should be the element that would help them develop better. So that's when you want to think. Maybe you want to inculcate in them how should they eat their food. So you want to give them a table and a chair in the room where they can sit and actually have their food. So there are certain elements that you have to think about, and you have to think what works best for you. Then incorporating art. Now, artistic elements, it can be a painting, it can be a wallpaper, it can be a ceiling, it can be a storage solution, it can be anything that kind of gives them two meanings. So if I look at this shelf right here, it's a tree, it's a shelf. So you are giving them two options. Maybe there's so the one that we saw earlier, the side table, could be something that looks like a robot, but it is a side table. So the function is there, the visual is there, so there is this sense of imagination. They'll have to see, okay, this is something that looks like this, but it is not actually the same element, right? Makes sense, right? So you are trying to give them a space to think about it. Think about, maybe you create clouds for them in orange color. So now they are thinking, okay, this is something that resembles clouds, but it's not actually a cloud, it is just the shape of it. So kind of giving them something to think about, something to be imaginative about, right? So not everything has to be literal. That's the gist of it. And finally, what we need to do for the final thing is that, of course, we need to create a space which makes them feel safe and secure. Yes, we have talked about materials, yes, we have talked about everything else, but we also need to give them options to explore their own personality. Like if they want to be somebody who organizes things, they should have a space to do that. If they want to read on something, they should have a cozy nook for that. If they want to kind of play their own guitar or kind of write songs, whatever, so they should have a familiar kind of a nook that relates to their hobbies. So like we were discussing that you need to ask them about their hobbies, you need to ask them about what they like, what they don't like. So in order to make them feel like this is their space, this is their safe haven, so that's what you're creating for them. Now for maybe as adults, we do not think about our room that much. We are just looking for a space to lie down, relax after a long day of work. But for kids, that space has a lot of meaning. That space is their space, is the first thing, the first bedroom or the first space that they can actually say this is mine. So that's a big thing. That's the first step they are doing. So you have to create a sense of security for them that this is your private space. Even if the room does not get logged that often, but there is a tiny nook for them, a tiny corner for them, which can be like their own private setting. So that is what we want to look at and create when we are talking about kids' bedrooms. So I hope we have covered most of the things which we wanted to discuss about kids and how you want to, design a space for them. So if at all anybody has any questions, you can let me know. I'll just stop sharing the screen. So you can write down your questions up until then. So I'm taking questions also if you do not want to discuss this topic, if this is clear. If you have any other questions related to interiors, related to how you should start your career or whatever, you can ask me those questions and we'll be taking that. So as I told you, I have an experience of so many years. So you can ask me about anything you want to think about, or maybe you're pursuing interiors, you want to start something else, anything, any questions you have, you can ask me. I am opening the floor for if you want to unmute yourself. I'll just change the settings so you can unmute and also talk if you have a question. Um, if you don't want to write your question, you can unmute and ask the question. Mentioning once again, if you want to get the certificate and recording for the session, you can fill up the Google form link, which has been shared on the chat box. Can we get the PDF? So it will be a part of the recording that you can get, and it will be also, yeah. So if you get the recording, you automatically get the PDF. Images send करने वाले थे आपके designs की. Lalit, I cannot send the images, but I can show it to you. So let me just see. Kids' bedroom. You want to see a kid's bedroom, right? Let me just see which is the latest one that we are planning, maybe. Any other questions? Guys, keep it coming. You can send me more questions if you have any.
मैम जो रेगुलर अटेंड कर रहे हैं ये प्रोग्राम आपके जो वेबिनार हैं उनके लिए कोई
हम्म।
अकाउंट ही क्रिएट कर दें ताकि वो रिकॉर्डिंग्स को एक्सेस कर लें, वो भी कुछ सीख सके, क्योंकि अब ये एक बारी में हम क्या सीखेंगे इसको, हाउ व्हाट वी कैन लर्न इन जस्ट लाइक वन गो।
Of course, but these are free webinars जो हम करते हैं. But after this ऐसा हो सकता है कि जो आप वेबिनार देख रहे हैं, आप सीख रहे हैं, आप इसके बाद कोर्स ले सकते हैं. तो देयर इज अ कंप्लीट कोर्स, आप वेबसाइट पे जाके देख सकते हो. कंप्लीट कोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं. तो अगर आपको लाइक मतलब पूरा आपको पूरी रिकॉर्डिंग चाहिए, वैसा चाहिए, तो बिकॉज ये फ्री वेबिनार्स हैं जो हम लोग कंडक्ट करते हैं. बट
अच्छा।
द होल कॉन्सेप्ट इज कि अगर आपको और ज़्यादा डिटेल में पढ़ना है तो यू विल हैव टू लाइक आप एक कोर्स ले लीजिए जिसमें आप कर ले, वैसा आप कर
ठीक।
सकते हैं. हाँ जी. ओके, ऑन द टॉप ऑफ माई हेड मेरे को ये एक बेडरूम मिल रहा है जो मैं आपसे शेयर कर सकती हूँ. मैम अभी तक कोई रिकॉर्डिंग नहीं मिली है मेरे को. आपने पिछली बार भी शायद अटेंड किया था, अगर किया था तो आपने क्या ईमेल डाला था? अगर नहीं डाला है, आप वो ईमेल आईडी जो मैंने शेयर किया था augmentech@gmail.com, उस पे आप ईमेल डाल सकते हैं कि जो भी आपका वेबिनार नेम था. एंड देन संदीप, कैन वी सी दिस? आप एक बार चेक कर लो कि क्या चीज़ है इनके पास
जी
जो
जी, मैंने किया था और मुझे नहीं मिला। एक बार सर्टिफिकेट मिला है और मैंने तीन चार आखिरी जो आपके जो है ना वो
हाँ जी.
अटेंड करे थे, वो मुझे जो है ना वो नहीं मिल सके,
ओके.
रिकॉर्डिंग नहीं मिल सकी।
संदीप, आप प्लीज एक बार इनके साथ कोऑर्डिनेट कर लेना. संदीप है यहाँ पे, लेट मी सी. कोई बात नहीं. योर नेम इज सरमाद, राइट? आप अभी वाला जो फॉर्म है, आप ये फॉर्म फिल कर लीजिएगा ताकि आपकी इंफॉर्मेशन एटलीस्ट पहुंच जाए. तो
ठीक है।
और बाकी आपको जो चीज़ मिसिंग लग रही है, आप इस पे ईमेल डाल दो. तो मैं टीम को इन्फॉर्म कर दूंगी कि आपके पास नहीं पहुंचे रिकॉर्डिंग, सो फिल दे
ठीक है।
टेक
ठीक।
केयर, है ना?
थैंक यू।
ओके. ओके, So see, this is one of the bedrooms. So this is teenagers one. So these are girls. So this it's a girls bedroom. So यहाँ पे हम लोग नहीं चाहते थे कि कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा हम लोग कलरफुल वैसा करें. So we were looking at things like, so यहाँ पे हमने एक शेल्फ क्रिएट किया है. But this is यहाँ पे अभी तो कुछ random stuff है. But these were two girls जो काफ़ी स्टूडियस, वेरी गुड विद स्पोर्ट्स. सो दे हैड अ लॉट ऑफ ट्रॉफीज. तो हमने स्पेसिफिकली उनके लिए स्पेस क्रिएट किया था वॉल में निश बना के, ताकि वो अपनी ट्रॉफीज यहाँ पे डिस्प्ले कर सके. दिस इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ पर्सनलाइजेशन. जब आप पर्सनलाइज करते हैं किसी चीज़ को और आप ऐड करते हैं वो स्पेसिफिक चीज़ उनके रूम में, देन यू आर गिविंग देम अ लॉट टू हैव इन देयर ओन पर्सनल स्पेस. फिर यहाँ पे हमारे पास थोड़ा सा ड्रेसर स्पेस था. Again, more space for their trophies. So even though ये dresser के लिए they can use, but this was specifically for their trophies. इतनी सारी trophies थी उनके पास. So एक personalized element we could get कि this is something that they want to do. So if in case you आप किसी का design करते हैं कोई भी चीज़, so you know कि ये person sports में है या ये person के पास very specific requirement है, आप उसके लिए specifically design कर सकते हो. So this is one of them. अभी मेरे को just okay, संदीप ने मैसेज कर दिया. You can email on that. Then I will see if I can find a boys space also. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, most of these are for adults. कोई इतना छोटे बच्चे का नहीं. Okay, yes, this is one. Again, one for the baby girl. I can show you. सो नाउ इसमें हमारे पास ब्रीफ था. कैन यू सी द स्क्रीन? एक सेकेंड. नाउ कैन यू सी द स्क्रीन? पिक्चर आ रहा है उसमें. So this was for a child. She is, I think, 7, 8 years old, and she wanted a pink bedroom. So that was the brief, that she wants a princess kind of a pink bedroom. So this is what we created for her. It was small because she literally does not really sleep on her own, but they wanted a complete bedroom for her. So maybe she likes it. उसको अच्छा लग रहा है, वो अपना खेलना चाहती है, कुछ भी करना चाहती है. So we created a small bedroom for that's a specific kid. Then so I have real images also of this, but I can show you how it turned out. Then this was also for a kid. So he was 13, 14 years old. So we created one bedroom for him where we have a study which comes out of the wardrobe. इसमें niches में wardrobe थी and a complete space. So जो बहुत छोटे छोटे rooms थे. So there is a problem with that, but we created as per the space we had. I can show you the real images. Let me see if I can get it here. In the meantime, if anybody has any other questions, you can mention it on the chat box so that we don't miss any of the questions that you have. Or if you do not have any questions, or if you want to like now sign out of the webinar, please mention the feedback that you have for the webinar or any topic of your choice that you want to see for the next webinar that we do. So if you have anything that you want to relate to that, you can share that with us. Okay, I'm just sharing my screen again. May I know the rendering software used? Okay, so here we generally use 3ds Max and V-Ray. So that's the software we use for our rendering purposes. Now this is the bedroom that we just saw, the 3D. So this is how it turned out. So this was the bedroom now. This is how it looks like. And this was the 3D that was created for them. So, for kids' bedroom, so this is the other one that you saw, the kids' bedroom. This was for the teenage boy. So you can see this was the 3D view and this is the real image that has been created. There might be one or two more kids' bedroom. Let me just see. Yeah, this is the one. This is again for a little girl. She was 9 years old, I think. So this is the bedroom created for her. This is almost like a renovation which was done. So there is a small space for her to sit and read books. So again, space for toys, a lot of colorful elements, and there's a LCD panel that we which we created, but they do not did not want to kind of have a TV in the room. So they were just keeping a space. So उन्होंने एक space रखवा दिया, like maybe in future they want to have a TV that can be done. But this was a mini renovation done for somebody. So this again is one of the kids' bedrooms. So basically, kids' bedrooms are some things that, it's not like very, very common that come to you, like, you do only the kids' bedroom. But I have a few. Okay, so this is one more. So this is a teenage boy's room. So here you can see how this has worked out. So here again, we have used a darker theme, but for this particular child, he likes a lot of shoes. So he's the one जिसको अपने room में shoes display करने थे. So we used that as an element of decor. So this complete space designed with the help of, colors which are dark. We used gray. So there's gray flooring, gray elements on the room, and some elements like, black mirror. So all of these were used here. Uh, and yes, last but not the least, again, a teenage girl's bedroom. You can see how this one turned out. So many girls like pink color. So here we were creating again a pink space for the person. So you can see how that turned out. Okay, so this is another one. So this is for again a kid, but here the problem was that the space was very less and we had to create so many things. So here the study table that you see that comes out of the door. I can see if I have a picture for that, or there was a video for that, but I'm not sure where it is. So it kind of is table that comes out of the wall. Okay, you can see here. So this is how the study desk looks like. It gets closed up and then it looks like just the wall panel. So that was the whole point of having it, because it's a very, very small space. We did not have enough space for the person to be sitting there all the time or to have a chair all the time. You can see the space is very less. So some, just like I was saying, adjustable furniture होना चाहिए, चीजें ऐसी होनी चाहिए जो flexible हैं. So these kinds of things can help you do that. तो आपके पास कुछ एक एलिमेंट है जो शायद आपको खुद ही क्रिएट करना पड़े, मार्केट में भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, तो ये वाली जो सारी चीजें हम ऐड करते हैं ना, ये हमारे डिजाइन को और ज्यादा रिलेटेबल बनाते हैं, ये हमारे डिजाइन को और ज्यादा ऐसा बनाते हैं जो आप यूज कर सकते हो. नाउ यू वोंट बिलीव, ये वाला बेडरूम जो आप यहाँ, ये एक बेडरूम है, ये वाला भी हमने एक बच्चे के लिए ही क्रिएट किया है. बट यहाँ पे ब्रीफ ऐसा था कि जो पेरेंट्स हैं वो नहीं चाहते थे कि जो उनका बच्चे का बेडरूम है वो किड्स बेडरूम जैसा लगे. सो दे वांटेड कि बहुत न्यूट्रल होना चाहिए, कि वो जब बड़ा भी हो जाए उसके बाद भी इट वर्क्स आउट फॉर हिम. तो इट इज नॉट लाइक कि ऑलवेज, मतलब आपको हमेशा ही कुछ ऐसा क्रिएट करना है जो बहुत की डिश लगे या जिसमें कुछ ऐसे एलिमेंट्स हो. इट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आपको क्या चीज जो है, आपको क्लाइंट से आपको क्या आइडिया आ रहा है, क्या मिल रहा है. अब ये वाले केस में बिल्कुल ऑपोजिट था. उनको स्पाइडरमैन चाहिए और उनको स्पाइडरमैन चाहिए ही चाहिए. तो आप वैसी चीजें क्रिएट करोगे. सो इट इज लाइक कि आपको जैसा स्पेस और जैसा क्लाइंटेल मिल रहा है, आप उसके अकॉर्डिंग चीजें क्रिएट करोगे. तो अब एक टाइम पे टीनेजर का बेडरूम ऐसा भी दिख सकता है, और जैसा वो पिछला वाला था वैसा भी दिख सकता है. सो टोटली अप टू द चॉइसेस ऑफ द क्लाइंट्स ऑल्सो, बिकॉज हम एक पॉइंट तक ही अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू रख सकते हैं एज इंटीरियर डिजाइनर्स. अल्टीमेटली हमें सुननी पड़ती है उन लोगों की जो उस रूम में रहने वाले हैं. तो मेक श्योर व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग टू द क्लाइंट, व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंडिंग रिक्वायरमेंट्स, यू अंडरस्टैंड कि उनकी क्या स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट है. जब आप उनकी स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट समझेंगे, उस टाइम पे आप उनके लिए ऐसा डिजाइन क्रिएट कर पाएंगे जो उनके लिए बेस्ट होगा. राइट. सो आई होप कि ये पूरा ऑलमोस्ट जो हम लोग डिस्कशन कर पा रहे हैं, या जो भी किड्स बेडरूम पे हमने डिस्कशन की, दैट इज क्लियर टू यू ऑल एंड यू थिंक यू हैव लर्न समथिंग. So it was lovely meeting you all, interacting with you all. If you have any feedbacks, if you have any suggestions, you can mention on the chat box. And again, If you want to get certificate and recording of the completion of the webinar, you can go to the Google Forms link and fill that up, right? Thank you so much for joining in. Just giving you 2 more minutes to send back. Okay, lots of things and ideas are clear. Great. That's great to know. So you should stay tuned on the Augmintech page on Instagram for more webinars that are coming up. So we have a lot of free webinars happening. So you can be a part of them. You can learn more elements if you want to. And if you want to, so certificates of course are always available. But if you want to go for more other topics, we can do that. So he has mentioned the Instagram here. So here we have all the updates regarding if we have new batches for the courses or if we have new webinars. It's always posted on this page. So thank you very much. Hope to see you all in the next webinar. Thank you so much.